I went to one of the longest running anime conventions on the East Coast, Otakon, my local convention. I'm Taryn. I normally do short form content, but a few of you said you wanted a long form video going over everything I bought at Otakon, so let's get into it. I do want to note, I know this is a lot of money that I have spent. This is literally the only event I go to all year. I don't even go on vacation, so please do not feel like you need to spend this much money just to go to an anime convention. Autographs are a really big draw for me when it comes to conventions. I'm very lucky in that Otakon, I think because it's in DC, is able to draw in a lot of Japanese guests. Their autograph process is literally a living nightmare. Every single year it seems to somehow get worse. Every single year I was thankfully able to get 3 sessions that I really cared about. The number one priority for me was the voice actor Ryotaro, who you have probably heard voice in something. You know, I think his biggest well-known one is Byakuya in Bleach, but he also voiced like Dark in Dan Angel or Shigure in Fruits Basket, or I think the character in Prince of Tennis people were very excited that he was there for. The big one for me though, and the reason I chose to go with Marmalade Boy, is number one, it's one of the first things that I watched and read, but also it was one of his first big lead roles. He plays literally the title character, Marmalade Boy. I asked for feedback and a lot of people said I should go with the art book that I had, so I took the slipcover off and he signed the front of it. He was very excited to see it. It was the first time he said he'd seen this in a long while. He asked if it was one of my favorites. I said yes. He actually took a picture of it because he hadn't seen it in such a long time. I have framed it and I'm putting it above my bookshelf, and I'm hoping that when the light hits it, like the gold of the signature will shine and you'll be able to see it a little bit better. I also went to the Romelia War Chronicle signings. This group of humans is one of the most fascinating I have ever seen together ever. I went to both of their panels. The best way I can describe them is like if a group of best friends somehow got a bunch of money and were able to do a passion project is what it felt like. They were joking with each other the entire time. They could not stop talking about how they would go out drinking all the time. The editor in particular really liked to bring that up. I got them to sign the second volume of the manga just because that's what I liked more. They would not let you get multiple volumes signed because there were 4 of them. So either you'd have 4 things or just 1 thing. So I got just my 1 volume signed. The last one I signed up for was the World is Dancing autograph session. I made sure to watch a couple of episodes of the anime before Otakon happened, and then I panicked and realized that the manga is print club only, meaning you can't just like pick it up at a bookstore, which is what I was planning to do, like at a booth at Otakon. So I panicked and ordered 2 volumes off of Amazon because it had the fastest shipping. We also only had 2 volumes out, and then my dad actually drove it down to me at Otakon because he's a very nice human being. So for this one, I actually brought 2 items because I wanted the voice actor to sign something different. He's very good in The World is Dancing, but he voices Peachy in Marriage Toxin, who is one of my favorite characters. So I grabbed volume 5, which is the one that has like the big backstory for his character, and I had him sign the back. I need to figure out, I'm probably gonna put it in like a sleeve or something so it doesn't rub off. I told him that it would be wonderful to get that chapter animated. He agreed. I got no hints on whether or not that's actually going to happen. And then I had volume 2 signed of The World is Dancing. This was actually the first time they'd ever seen the English manga in person. Again, I think because it's print club, it's not something you can just like stumble and find. You have to order it yourself. There was a little bit of a misunderstanding with the director because he asked me, you know, who's my favorite character? Because I think he thought I had read the entire manga because I had the manga, but we only have 2 volumes out in English. So I hadn't actually finished the story, and it was through a translator, and I kind of regretted it after because I think we did not fully communicate, but it was okay. He drew a very cute drawing in the manga volume. So now let's get into the stuff that I like spent money on. The dealer's room is where I actually spend most of my money. I know it's very different. Most people drop their money at Artist Alley, but for me, there are a lot of manga, anime, CD vendors who come to Otakon, and this is the only time I can see them all year, and they have a lot of out-of-print stuff that is not always marked up. I always stop at Painted Vision Comics. They have tons of out-of-print volumes that they sell for what the price is on the back. So if it says $8.99 from Viz from forever ago, you're paying $8.99. They did not have anything I was missing this time. I always check for like Lovecom and Trinity Blood, but they didn't have any of those. They instead had an almost full set of Full Moon, which I read forever ago in, I think, high school, and figured I might as well get, especially because there's only 1 volume missing here, and it's actually in print, so I just ordered that on Barnes & Noble, and it'll be here soon. And then I had never heard of Tokyo Boys and Girls, but I looked it up when I was there, and it is by the author of Hot Gimmick, which is one of the biggest, most dramatic, messiest things I ever read in high school, but I have such a fondness for it, I figured I might as well try it out. Manga Mavericks, who is an indie publisher, also had a booth, so I picked up one of their newer titles, and they also had a full poster, and actually had a preface that it came with a poster, because I guess they had customers who were mad that they had to carry around a poster, which seems very weird. Just don't take the poster. And then they also had some stuff from Glacier Bay Books, so I picked up 1 title from that too. The real damage for my wallet came from this one booth, Retro Saikou, who I don't think has been to Otakon before, because if they had been, I almost can guarantee I would have spent all my money there. They had like everything I've ever wanted since I was like 15. I have been a huge fan of the Tales of series since I discovered Tales of Vesperia in like 10th or 11th grade. And I had tried to find like almost every title I could get in English. And I think I've pretty successfully done that for the consoles that I have. But there are a couple that we just like never got in English, and they've somehow had all 3 Nintendo DS games, which apparently are region free, which I did not know, for like 20 bucks. So I bought all of them. One, Tales of Hearts, had a hard time playing originally, but I actually messaged them and they told me to clean it with rubbing alcohol, and now it works. I don't know Japanese, so I can't read this and understand it. So I'm gonna attempt to find a translation, but like even if I can't get that to work or decide I don't wanna emulate it or something like that, I played the PS3 Japanese version of Tales of Vesperia with my laptop with a clickable translation. So like we'll get there eventually. And then they had like every soundtrack that I've ever wanted. And to give you some context for why I panicked and grabbed everything and bought all of it, and I don't regret it, to be clear, but it's because like last year I found, I think it was Tales of Zilla 2, the soundtrack, which I was so excited to see a Tales of soundtrack in the wild that I bought it, even though it was like $95. So the fact that they had these here for $20 to $30, it felt like I couldn't miss the opportunity. So I bought all of them. Same thing goes for the Trails soundtracks. I have the ones that came with the game, but these are like the full soundtracks. And I actually had been about to buy one of the vinyls for like $100. So I actually saved money in the long run. The biggest thing for the soundtracks here is actually a bunch of them still had the art cards and even the posters, which I was not expecting. Again, I would expect to pay a lot more money for what I got here, and they all work. I've been able to rip them and like upload them already. And then I did also get a couple of like art books and sort of like game guide things for the artwork in it. And the real thing is I went home and bought more from them off of eBay because they had stuff that they didn't have in stock at the convention. And I'm very close to having all the Tales of soundtracks. I'm very close to having them all. And then Discotek always has a booth, and they always have out of print titles for essentially what seems to be like a reasonable market price. Sometimes I wonder why they don't post these online, because then more people would be able to access them, to be honest. But like, I guess it works out in the end. So I picked up some of the titles I had been wanting. They had a lot more there, but I was trying to be more reasonable and just get the things that I had sort of wanted for a while. If you do go to a booth where they are vending, I do recommend stopping by a couple times throughout the days that you're there, because they do refill throughout the day and stuff pops up. And they only typically put out one of each title, so you sort of have to come back if someone grabbed it. And then we don't have a Kinokuniya literally anywhere near here. The closest one I think is New Jersey, which is like a 5-hour drive. So I got all of the Futokiya exclusives that looked even remotely interesting. I have not read any of them. I have no idea if they're good, but just when you think about like the shipping fees I would have to pay if I were to buy each of them, I typically just wait until they're here and then I buy what looks interesting. Their booth did feel smaller than usual. They didn't have as much stuff. They've moved to a different part of Otakon, so I don't know if they scaled down because Anime NYC is closer this year, so there weren't as many things, so I really just got the Futokiya BL this time. And it did also come with a bag that is from the Kodansha House Blue Lock exhibition. And then of course, Artist Alley. I truly have been trying to go a more practical merch route when it comes to Artist Alley. I love all of the prints and the keychains, and I do always end up getting some of them, but there's just only so much space one person has, and a lot of them end up in portfolios or sticker books, which is a great way to flip through, but it just doesn't feel like the best use of my money. And then I also feel bad that I'm getting someone's art and then it's just like sitting in a book, you know? When it came to Artist Alley this year, I did have one priority. There is one booth in particular who does beautiful Haikyuu art, and when I got there last year, she had sold out of the acrylics that she had. So I stopped by and got the Japanese national team acrylic that I missed out on last year that I absolutely adore. I did not realize that Iwaizumi is actually a little separate piece, so you can move them around if you want to. And then she also had this absolutely stunning brush buddy pen holder. It has 2 different sizes, so you can adjust it for different pen sizes that you want. So I got that to use at my desk at home. And then I did, of course, get some prints as well. I love holographic stuff, so the fact that there were foil prints of the Haikyuu characters, I could not resist. And then this was like a weekend of trail stuff. If you don't know the trail series, and you probably don't, to be honest, it is like kind of pretty niche, but it's one of my all-time favorites. I think it has one of the best written stories in like all of gaming history, and there's no merch for it ever. So I saw a booth that had these like standees sticking out of the top of the booth with the characters from The Legend of Heroes, and I ran back the next day to make sure I could get everything. So I asked for one of every sticker that they had of the Trails characters. They were missing Estelle because I waited until Sunday for some reason. So I got all of those, and then because I bought so many, it was like I could get one more for free. So I got a Shulk Xenoblade one, and then there were Xenoblade 2 keychains, and since the Switch 2 edition just came out literally that weekend on the Friday that Otakon happened, I got the keychains of the 3 main characters. And this was just exciting because like very rarely do I see merch for this series literally ever, which is why it was like I was gonna buy all of it. And there were acrylics of them and I really thought about it, but I couldn't decide who I wanted, so I just went with the stickers. And then Crimson Chains, who is the creator of Star-Crossed, which if you haven't read, we have published from Tokyo Pop, was just at an Artist Alley booth. And she had posted that she had the standees of her characters out, and so I stopped by to see them because that's just really cool. And I got art from her, obviously of her original series, but there also was this absolutely beautiful Avatar print, so I got that as well. And I did actually buy a frame for it, so I'm probably gonna hang it in my apartment somewhere. And then there was this very shiny holographic Sailor Moon print that like attracted me and Laura to the booth. So we went immediately. I got the holographic chandelier print. It is actually hanging up in my office right now. And then I also got a little postcard one too. And then some of the more practical stuff, I bought these slime socks. I think it's probably the slimes from Dragon Quest. I just thought they were really cute. They're very bright, so they're not something I can probably wear day to day, but I can wear them at home. And then there was a very pretty Sailor Moon silk scarf, so I grabbed that too. I need to iron it, obviously, but I just thought the print was really nice. I need to figure out what to do with it. I might use it in my hair every once in a while. And then the Zelda Umbrella I thought was really cool. It has art on almost every single panel, and the guy was like very concerned that I thought it wasn't a real umbrella. He said he had issues with people thinking it was just decorative, even though the sign said like rain and water and sunproof and all that stuff. So it is a fully functional umbrella. So I'm gonna throw it in my car. It'll be one of my go-to umbrellas between that one and the Villains Are Destined to Die one that I have. That one's a little more subtle, so I think this will be my backup umbrella. And then the last thing I got was like a Nana keyboard fidget blind box thing that I'm just gonna carry around because it's really fun to click. And that's everything I got at Otakon. If you've never been to Otakon, I am obviously biased in that it's the convention that I've gone to since I was in high school, but it does really feel like it's just run by fans. Like there's also just tons to do. So like I go to conventions by myself and I have never once at Otakon like felt lonely, because there is always something to do. There are panels, there are concerts, there's autograph sessions. The dealer's room and Artist Alley are huge, but also really navigable. So if you live on the East Coast, I definitely recommend checking it out if you can. It's just a really nice convention. And that is it for this video. That is everything that I got at Otakon. I am gonna try to do more long form videos because I've been intending to, but also, you know, the new YouTube rules and all that. And stay tuned because I think I'm gonna try to do a series where I have my bookshelf app choose what I read for the week, because I'm in a little bit of a reading slump. So if I have it pick like 4 things randomly and then I have to read those, so I have to make a video on it, I think I'll get back into reading more. And that's it for this one.